You are listening to the Living Room Confessional podcast. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Living Room Confessional. I'm your host, Courtney. So this is pretty much part two of, I don't even know what I'm calling this. God told me to quit my job. That's the topic. But yeah, I think last episode we pretty much covered everything leading up to quitting the job and kind of the process that I went through, trusting God, believing in my faith, allowing Him to show me what He has in store. And we talked about His timing, and we talked about surrender. We talked about a lot of things, and we talked about my dad and his reaction. What I really wanted to come out of that episode as well, which I don't think I really harped on too much, was how sometimes we go against the things that our parents taught us because God is calling us to something else. And it doesn't mean you dishonor or you disobey your parents. They may not agree with the things that God has called you to do, but you can always go to God and ask Him to give them grace, to touch their hearts, to confirm for them the things that He's told you without telling them the whole thing. There's so many things that God can do to help smooth the path forward. God is a God that makes the path straight. He can make the crooked straight. And so, I mean, as we kind of walk throughout our lives and we go throughout whatever journey or experience we're going through, it's not always going to be a straight path. Sometimes there are turns and there are delays and there are all these things that go into it that you have to wait and seek Him. And when you hit a curve or a hook or a corner, ask God which way to go. Ask God to light the way, make the path straight. Ask God to do whatever is needed in that moment so that you can continue to follow Him. And whether He, when it comes to parents, tells them anything or doesn't, God is your parent first. You are a child of God. You've accepted Christ. You are a child of God. He is your Father. So while your earthly parents may not agree with everything that He calls you to do because it's out of their comfort zone or they have no understanding of it or they don't have the sight to see what He's doing in or through you, you have to trust Him sometimes. You have to trust Him all the time, but in spite of how they feel, He's first. And God will do whatever needs to be done to deal with them because they are also His children. And I think this episode is not even about this, but something that I realize is that God is the parent to all of His children. So I've never said this out loud, so I don't know how crazy this sounds, but think about it. If God is our Father and we are all His children, yes, on earth we have parents, but in the Lord's sight, our parents are our siblings because we're brothers and sisters in Christ. Your spouse is your brother in Christ until he becomes your spouse. It's a weird thing to think about, but these are the things, this is how my brain works, and these are the things that I sit and think about. God knows what each one of His children needs. And so if you, His child, are following His will and His plan in the direction that He is taking your life, sometimes there are people that are going to have to veer off because they're not meant to go with you. Sometimes it's parents, sometimes it's friends, sometimes it's siblings. But you have to trust in God and the plan that He has for you and the fact that He will order everyone's steps just as He is ordering yours. So even in that moment, if they are not on board, give them to God. He is their Father. He can parent them better than you ever could. So yeah, I think that also gives me comfort. And I didn't say this in the last episode. That also gives me comfort in telling my dad the hard things and praying for him and praying about it and giving it to God, because there's nothing I can say that will make him feel better sometimes. Sometimes it's literally something God has to do within his heart so that he can move forward. But in the midst of it all, my job is to follow God and move forward. So that being said, we're going to continue on. I'm not even a full week off yet. Like, like on my own. It's been weird. Everybody kept asking me when I finally announced it at work. They sent out the most beautiful email about my departure, which was so comforting. Everybody kept asking me, are you going to rest? Are you going to take time off? Are you going to travel? Are you going somewhere else? Are you working for another company? Like, what are you doing? And I was pretty much like, no, I'm going to hit the ground running. Cut to commercial. Okay. We did not hit the ground running. The first day, I was like a duck out of water. I had plans. I wrote in my planner, like I had a plan for the day. I was like, God, we're going to do this. It's going to be great. And I have all these plans. I'm going to make these phone calls. I'm going to do this. I did nothing. I did nothing on my list. What I ended up doing was certain things that God placed on my heart. And so something I realized was, okay, I prayed in the morning. I read my Bible, slept in a little bit, let's be real. And I came to my desk, and when I sat down, I did not say, hey, God, what do you want me to do today? Which is normally what I would do. I just started doing stuff. And then I ended up on Instagram. And then I ended up on Zara and like and just doing all these things. And then I ended up on the state of North Carolina's website, and that's what God wanted me to do. I ended up doing stuff with the businesses that I had no plan or anticipation of doing, and was completely shocked. So the week before I left the corporate job, God gave me a revelation to change a couple of things. And I was just like, okay, I'll change them. In my brain, I was like, I'll change them down the line. And he was like, no. So yesterday I was doing research. I ended up doing research for hours. And I was just like, is this my life? Like, please? No. But I ended up doing research for a couple of hours. And I got up at the end of the day, mentally exhausted, and felt like I had achieved nothing. And I started talking to God, and he was like, you did this because I told you to do this. You did this because, and he was like just revealing things to me. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, so I did do a lot. And I'm talking to a friend on the phone, and I'm telling her what I did. And she goes, actually, that is a lie. You got a lot accomplished. Like, you didn't file any of the paperwork or anything yet, but like you have all the steps that need to be completed. Chill. And I was like, all right, I did a lot. And so I go about the rest of the evening, cut to day 2. I pray. Like I have my quiet time. I take my time in the morning. I'm going slow. I wake up and I have a sore throat. I do not feel good. And it's like every day when I anticipate hitting the ground running, I hit a wall. And I'm just like, Lord, what is this? I know I procrastinated in the past, but I thought I grew through that. And God was like, slow down. You just left. You just made a huge decision. Like, it's so beautiful how God knows us so well. But God's literally like, in my heart, you just did something huge. You left a company you've been working for 3.5 years. And now you're about to start running companies. And I have you doing all these things that you are not well versed in. You've never had to do this before. I was so mentally exhausted. I went to bed at almost 7, 8. Like, I was tired. And then I wake up with a sore throat, and I'm trying to have the momentum that I had the day before, but God's like, that's not what you're doing today. I ended up on the couch for like pretty much half the day because I just did not feel good. Did not go to the gym, didn't do anything that I had planned to do. And I'm sitting here feeling like a failure again because I'm like, I'm sick. And I'm like, why is this happening? God was telling me to rest. All this, I'm going to hit the ground running and I have plans and I'm going to do all this stuff. He's like, no, rest. And I will tell you what needs to be done when it needs to be done. This is day 2. And I'm like, how am I messing up this bad. I came to my desk a little bit later because I started feeling better. And I sat down and I was just like, okay, Lord, what do I need to do today? Gave me a couple of things, wrote some stuff down, reorganized my desk and cleaned up my office a little bit and created an environment. I can't work in mess. I cannot. Mentally, something is wrong with me in my head if you look at my house and you're like, there's stuff everywhere. I love tidiness. So I had to clean everything off so that I could think clearly and function. And God had me doing a couple of different things, making some phone calls, doing this and that. And I was like, okay, had a moment, started crying because I hit another wall. I was doing something again that I did not understand. And I started crying again. And I was just like, Lord, this is scaring me. Like, when something is different and something is unfamiliar and it's uncomfortable, that's when you really have to rely on God to see you through. Going back to God equips those that he calls, and you have to trust in him. He knows the plans that he has for you. You are going to go through things that you never thought that would ever be something you would deal with. You're going to go through things that are so far out of your wheelhouse that you're just like, Lord, I cannot. I don't know how, and I cannot. All I see is a wall. And all God's going to say is, oh, you see a wall? I see the wall of Jericho. Take a couple of minutes, do these things, and the wall will fall. Follow my instructions, follow my lead. When I tell you to scream, scream, and the wall will fall. And sure enough, I sat there and cried for a couple of minutes, but I kept going. The wall fell, and I was able to move forward. And I was so geeked. I was so excited afterwards. It was like, why was I scared in the first place? And so I'm telling my friend, I was like, yeah, I cried a little while ago, but I'm good now because God's doing this. And it's just like, and she's just like, Courtney, trust him. Like, stop all this and just trust him. You can do this. The fact that I have so much knowledge about business and things that I've never had anything to do with should tell me that God is with me. And he has equipped me and I will be fine. But it's like every single day I need a reminder from God. How quickly we forget. I was talking to someone not too long ago about God, 2 loaves and a fish, that story where he feeds the 5,000. And what tripped me out is the verse before, God feeds 4,000. And I think it was not the verse, it's the chapter. He feeds the 4,000 off 2 fish and 5 loaves. The very next chapter, the disciples have already forgotten that just the day before, what he did with 2 loaves and 2 fish, God, I can't even say it, 2 fish and 5 loaves. The very next day, does it again. But the disciples are in non-belief, and they had 12 baskets left. Like, are you kidding me? And I'm just like, how quickly we forget the things that God brings us through. Like in the blink of an eye, it's like he's never done anything and we are in this world all on our own. I had to get it together. I really had to get it together. And I realized this cannot be something that happens every single day. I need to create a routine for myself where I am consulting God at every turn. I'm not sitting here faltering or floundering or just, woe is me, Lord, I'm going to stop all this because it doesn't make sense. Let me go apply for a job. No, we're not going to get to that point. And the way that we're not going to get to that point is we're going to trust in him and we're going to follow him and we're going to consult him at every single turn. And so day 2 ends and we hit day 3. I have a meeting and then I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to go to this meeting. It's going to be like an hour. It was 2 hours. I got a little bit off schedule for the day. I had some errands to run. I had to prepare myself actually just to do this podcast that I'm doing right now and another one that's coming up. And so things took a lot longer than I needed them to take. And I think something I should probably say about me is my default setting is control. And so I always want to control the situation, but God is like, you need to learn flexibility. In 3 days, look how many lessons God has taught me, things he's revealed to me and shown me that I need to do. I cannot control everything. I have to rest and I need to let go and be flexible. And I don't know, like it blows my mind because I listen to people like Tim Ross and Preston Morrison. Preston Morrison has a podcast called The Leader's Cut, where he has Tim Ross on all the time. And then he also is the pastor of Pillar Church. And I just love Preston's content, his message, so good. And I was watching one of his podcasts, and he and Tim Ross were talking about how Tim Ross started a podcast in I think 16 to 18 months, going from nothing to being huge. And Tim Ross mentioned how he had worked so hard before, and when he started the podcast, and things with God are just easy. They're easier because God has it handled. All you have to do is obey, follow, and do the work. And he was talking about how slower paced his life has become and how little he actually needs to do to get through the day, because trusting in God, God's got it handled. God has sent him resources. He's done all these things to where he was just like, I work less, but on the grand scheme of things, he does more and makes more. And while that's not the end all be all goal, the lesson in that is that the way that God works, when he calls you to do something, you start working the way God works. When the way that God works, he's in control. He will tell you what to do, and he will guide your footsteps in every matter, in everything that he calls you to. He's already been there. He's already walked through it for you, and he will give you the blueprint of what needs to be done. Are you consulting him? And that was my problem. Yes, I'm on day 5 of not working, but I've consulted God how many times? And everything that I've set out to plan or do, how many times have I consulted God? Not enough. If you feel overworked, if you feel overloaded, everything is just piling up on you. If you feel like you need to hustle or grind, if God called you to it, that's not necessary. He does not work like that. God is a God of abundance. So if you need resources, he will give you resources in abundance. If you need help, ask, not by my strength, but God's will has to be done. Not in my own strength, not in my time, not my way, not my plan, not my will. Take the my out of it and replace it with God. In all things, allow God to take the front seat. I have the most problems when I try to walk around God and go in front, and I'm like, oh, I know what this is. I got it. Watch it implode in front of me. Watch me go struggling through it. I've done this so many times. Why is it so hard? I have cried out to God so many times because I'm trying to do something that I do all the time, but he didn't tell me to do it. In that moment, I'm doing what Courtney wants to do. I'm not doing what he called me to do. And I make things harder than they need to be. And this first week, God is literally teaching me, step back and step off. You are not doing my job. Stop trying to do God's job. You cannot do it better than him, and you cannot do it for him. He is God. All you can do is what he tells you to do. And be thankful for that. Because if you had to do what God had to do, you would have to carry this entire world on your shoulders. And that is not for you. God has given you tasks. God has given you a place to go and a purpose. Something very specific to you that is already within you what needs to be done. You have the skills. You have the know-how. He puts everything on the inside of you. You just have to wait for him to call it out. That's how good he is. That's how little we actually have to do. Stand on faith that God is in control. Stand firm on that and stop trying to go ahead of him. The biggest problem that I ever had was stepping on God's toes, trying to do everything and saying, you know what, God, I got this one. No, I don't got it. What I got is problems. What I got is a temper. Like, get out of the way and allow God to be God. You don't want that job. That person that irritates the mess out of you, what if you had to take that person home with you every single day? You had to deal with them and consult them on every single thing in your life, when you can just give them over to God and say, God, this is your child. You know what they need. I don't want to deal with this. Does God not silence people who are being noisy in your ear? Does God not put blockades and put tension or space in between you and your problems? Can God not handle it? When has God not handled something? When has God not handled something? He may not have handled it how you wanted to handle it or when you wanted to handle it, but didn't it get handled? I haven't told this story on here before. I had a manager that pretty much called me by someone else's name for 6 months. I was new to the company, and for 6 months, he called me the name of someone else, which had other people in the company calling me by that name. I corrected this manager. Other people corrected this manager. At this point, it was insulting. So we get a survey, and the survey comes out, and I wrote it in the survey because it was like, talk about your manager. I was like, well, he has the audacity to not know my name after I've been on his team for 6 months. And to make matters worse, the other person whose name he's calling is like one of the 5 other Black people at this company, and he can't get it right. And I was like, it's insulting. She's not even on his team. I'm on his team. I talk to him daily. He looks me in my face and calls me by her name. Well, it stopped immediately. The survey went through and it stopped immediately, which told me it was a choice. I started having different types of issues with this manager. He did not listen to me. He cut me off. He was just rude. So I probably said some things I probably shouldn't have said to other people, venting and things like that. But it got to the point where I prayed to God and I was like, I cannot do this anymore. Like, he's got to go. I've got to go. I don't care. You can send me somewhere else. I'll start applying for other jobs. Just please. I cannot deal with this anymore. I hate coming to this place and dealing with this because I don't know what side of him I'm going to get. And the minute I see this person's face, I get angry. And I just left it. Stopped talking about it. I just left it. And I just kept doing my job. 2 weeks later, he put in his notice. I'm not saying that I caused that, but when I tell you that if you give things to God, he will do things beyond your comprehension that you could never do. I could never go to that person and say, you need to quit now. I don't like how you treat me. You need to leave. I could never do that, but he will create circumstances. He will create circumstances in which that person has no access to you. Whether he had moved me to another department, whether he moved me to another company, removed him to another department or company. His way, his time, his plan. When that man first called me that other person's name, God already had a plan to separate. He was just, I believe, waiting for me to surrender it. I carried it around for so long, just angry and letting it fester and just marinate. To the point where I feel like I talked about it all the time. I became so angry, I would joke about it, which made people think, oh, she doesn't care. Oh, I did. I was livid. And it got to the point where I was like, just take me out of this company. Like, I need you to do what you do, God. Because at this point, I'm going to quit, or I don't know, but I need you to take care of this. And getting off of God's toes and letting him, God, his way, not your way. I didn't say anything else about it. I just gave it up. 2 weeks. Solved. Allow God to be God in every situation of your life. In this season of my life, I'm going to be making a lot of changes on this podcast. Y'all have heard me say that so many times. I promise they're good changes. Stick with me, please. But I'm going to be making a lot of changes, and the changes are coming because I'm following his instructions, not mine. Honestly, I'm a creature of habit. I love a bedtime. I love eating the same foods. Yeah. If it were up to me, I would never leave my house. But I have a spirit of adventure, so I like to go outside. But that's also a gift from God, because for years I did not do anything. But we're getting off topic. But there are going to be a lot of changes coming, and I'm asking you to please stick with me. I am following a structure that I did not come up with on my own, that God gave me, and it is so good. It is so good. And now that you guys know that I'm doing this full time, let's engage. Tell me, like, what kind of episodes, what are you guys interested in? What topics, what kind of episodes? Like, I want to get you guys involved in the podcast and the content that is shared and just all the things that are done on this podcast. I appreciate each and every one of you being here. And I hope you guys are excited for everything that is to come. I will update you as things unfold, but I will say that God is doing a new thing. It is a breath of fresh air for me, and I believe it will be for you. This podcast is going to grow, and it's going to blossom into something I never even dreamed. The vision that God initially gave me has been fulfilled in so many ways, but he's actually added onto it so that it can continue and blossom and grow in different ways. So I'm very excited about what is coming. And please like and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. It really, really helps and supports me so that I can keep doing the YouTube videos along with the audio. I actually love this. It allows the creative juices to flow because I'm not locked into just like podcast audio. There's so much in store for me, for you, and God can do so much. If you love what he's doing in your life right now, if you don't like what he's doing in your life right now, it is a season. Things can get better. They can always get better. So you just have to trust him. Open up your heart to him and just allow him in and say, God, have your way. And see what he does. That's all you can ever really do. Lead with faith. Be courageous. And I will see you guys in the next video or podcast.
Thanks again for tuning in. Bye.